Are you considering moving to Lancaster, California? In this video, I'm going to share my experience of what it's like to live and own property in Lancaster, California. Hey, welcome to Real Estate Happens, the very first and longest running real estate show on the web. I'm John McQuilkin. Thanks for tuning in. Okay, let's get right on into it. For those of you not familiar with Lancaster, California, it is part of Los Angeles County. It is at the northern edge of Los Angeles County and the western edge of the Mojave Desert. It is an area known as the High Desert. The weather is perfect most of the year, except it does get cold in the wintertime and it does get windy at times. But me personally, I prefer a nice breeze as long as it's not extreme winds making your allergies kick up. So a little bit of breeze is okay, but it does get windy in Lancaster, California. So don't let anybody tell you otherwise. We get about 281 days a year of sunshine, which is pretty nice. Not a lot of rain, only about 8 inches of rain a year, and only about 1 inch of snow a year. So it's pretty much a perfect place to live. The weather, you know, sure it gets over 100 degrees in the summertime, but it's not extreme heat like, say, Palm Springs, California, where it gets up to 116 or 120 degrees. So for me, as long as it's like 108 degrees or less, it's okay. And most of the time, it's really just around 100 degrees during the summer. So that's not so bad for me. I personally love the weather here in Lancaster. I've lived in Palm Springs as well, and I prefer the weather in Lancaster. Okay, next we're going to talk about where to live and affordability and all of that. So Lancaster has the west side and the east side, but something people don't usually talk about is the central part of Lancaster as well. So where to live? If you can afford it, the west side of Lancaster is nicer. There's less trash, you know, less littering, nice restaurants, nice stores to shop in. The extreme east side of Lancaster is also very nice. I've owned property on the extreme east side. I enjoyed it. You get much better deals on the east side. If you're into horses or raising animals and you need acreage, the acreage is less expensive on the east side of Lancaster than on the west side of Lancaster. Now, central Lancaster, close to the downtown area, may suit your needs if you work in that area. But other than that, it's not really less expensive than, say, the east side, far east side of Lancaster, but it's also trashy. So you're not really saving money to live in the central area of Lancaster. And by trashy, I mean littering. There's a lot of littering going on in the downtown area of Lancaster. So for me, that's a huge pet peeve of mine. I've lived in Hollywood for 30 years, and Hollywood was actually clean compared to parts of Lancaster. I'm dumbfounded by this, but I see people in very nice cars in Lancaster just throw all their trash right out the car window, and it bothers me. I jump out of my car and I try to chase down the trash and pick it up whenever I can, but I don't see that in other parts. I don't see that in Palmdale, for instance, of people just throwing their trash out the window. So that's a pet peeve of mine, but if it's not really a pet peeve of yours, then people littering is not really going to bother you. And don't let that stop you from moving to Lancaster, because like I said, I love living in Lancaster, but that's just one aspect of it that I don't like, and I wish the city would do more to educate people on not to litter and maybe hire more people to go out and clean up after those people that feel a need to litter our beautiful city. Because again, I don't think the city is doing enough to take care of that problem. They're spending money in tons of other areas, like for instance, bike paths. If you're a bike enthusiast, you're gonna love Lancaster because we have tons of bike paths throughout Lancaster that nobody ever uses. You'll have the entire bike path lane all to yourself, except for the occasional texter who is sending a text or hitting the like button on a TikTok video and they veer into your bike path lane. But other than that, you'll have the whole bike path lane all to yourselves. So again, Lancaster spends money in all these other areas but they don't spend enough money, in my opinion, on keeping the city clean. But again, don't let that stop you from moving here, because the good outweighs the bad. Okay, what else? Shopping. There's lots of shopping in Lancaster, and what I love about it is plenty of parking. Unlike Los Angeles, you pull right in and you can find a parking space. There's an area of Lancaster along Lancaster Boulevard called the Boulevard, and there's really nice restaurants along the boulevard, some mom and pop shops, so you might like it. It's kind of similar to the 3rd Street Promenade in Santa Monica, but the thing I don't like about the boulevard is there's no public restrooms, and all the shops and restaurants say restrooms for customers only, which makes sense, right? But say if you're just going there to get an ice cream cone with your family and you're walking down the boulevard and suddenly your 9-year-old has to use the restroom, well, you're kind of out of luck. You're gonna have to jump in your car and go drive someplace to use a restroom. So that wasn't very well thought out, that they didn't put in at least one public restroom that I'm aware of along the boulevard. But if you're aware of a public restroom somewhere along the boulevard, let me know, because I have missed it. Okay, next, nightlife. If you're young and you want to move to Lancaster for the nightlife, there's nothing here for you. We have great sports bars if you're into sports, and we have some great bars that have live bands every night of the week, which are wonderful. But if you're looking for the kind of nightlife that you'll find along the Sunset Strip, you're not going to find it in Lancaster. When I moved to Los Angeles 30 years ago, I lived, you know, in all the bars along the Sunset Strip and in West Hollywood, and I really loved it. So at that time, Lancaster wouldn't have been right for me. But now Lancaster is right for me, because now I'm more settled down. So if you're done with the nightlife, then you're going to love living in Lancaster, because there's a lot of peace and tranquility and wide open blue skies, and you see all the stars at night. So I love that over living in Hollywood. Okay, next is, I just want to touch on this real quick, because a lot of people don't touch on this. There's tons of solar power in Lancaster, and that's one of the things the city of Lancaster touts themselves on, that they have all this solar power like requirements in the new housing developments, and that is all great. But if you're buying a house already in an existing neighborhood and it has solar power, make sure you ask your realtor if that solar power is leased or if it is already fully paid for. And if it is leased, just know that going in. You can still purchase the house, but know that you're gonna have to maybe take over that 20-year lease on the solar power. Me personally, I don't like leases on solar power. No offense to the people in the solar power industry. I would rather pay for it and own it outright. And also it makes my job harder when I go to sell a house that has a solar power lease on the roof. So it's best to make sure that the solar power is paid off, or that you are comfortable with taking over the solar power. Last thing I want to say about living in Lancaster, California is the friendliest people in the world are here in Lancaster. And I'm not saying that just to make a joke, because I've lived all over, like I said, Los Angeles for 30 years. And you do make friends in Los Angeles, but it's more transient, you know, because people are constantly moving in and out of Los Angeles. But all the friends I made in Lancaster when I first moved here are still my friends today. All my old neighbors are still my friends today. It's the kind of place where if you pull over and put the hood up on your car, people will pull over and say, is there anything I can do for you? Do you need a jump? So it's great, friendly people living in Lancaster. So I know I said a couple of negative things about living in Lancaster, and I said, what I said before is, those things are true, but the bad does not outweigh the good, if that makes sense. So wherever you live in any city, there's going to be things that you don't like about that city that you're going to gripe about. But if I didn't like it, I would get the hell out of here. But I like it. I love living in Lancaster, California, and I will continue to buy property here in Lancaster. So it may be right for you, and if Lancaster's not right for you, perhaps Palmdale will be right for you. Or maybe you want to go further out to Rosamond, or go further east out to Lake LA. But in general, the Antelope Valley is a very, very nice place to live. And if you're considering moving here, please reach out to me. If you have a house that you need to sell anywhere in Los Angeles County, I would love to hear from you. Well, I'm gonna wrap up this video for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'm gonna have another video for you real soon, I promise you that. So until then, take care everybody. I'm John McQuilkin, and I'll see you in real estate.